So let's say there's a window over here also. Right now, so this is a plan. The plan shows wall with windows. Now if I want to dimension this, I will go with the linear dimension and specify the first extension and the second extension over here. Now as per my drawing requirement, I need to have a continued dimension of this particular wall showing the width of the window and the distance that the window will be having from each other while I am doing a architectural plan or a civil drawing, a civil plan for this particular project. Now here we have, let's say 1 feet 10 inches is there. Now if I want to have a continued dimension, that means I want to do a continued dimension from, I will select this as a base, and then I want to have the dimension here, here, here. Then the command is dim continue. So you will find the continued dimension here in this particular drop down. So you have this continued dimension. Now what happens the moment you select the tool, it selects the last dimension which you have given. In this case, this is the wall dimension. Now give the next point, right? So now you have this continued dimension, and if you want to end, press enter. So let's do it. So this is something that now here, if you want to have a continued dimension in this particular drawing, so let's say I want to go with dim lin, and here we have, so there's one dimension, and I want to continue it from here, dim continue, and I go here. So let us take another example where you have an inclined wall. Let's say you have a wall which is inclined at 45 degree. So let me create a wall which is inclined at the rate. So the wall length is 25 feet and inclined at 45 degree. And it is having series of window panels. So 9 inches is the thickness of the wall, and you have a series of window panels between the walls. Now we will dimension it and see what is the correct technique of doing it. So this is a wall, friends, and let's say I create the windows at a randomly. Let me, the snap is disturbing here. So you have a 3 feet kind of window, and here it goes, right? And let's say in alternate 3 feet the windows are created, and we can have a bigger window also. So you have this. This is fine. I'm not going to take much time into it. So I'll create the symbol. I get an offset of 4.5, and let's say I use the trim command. So this is the window that I am going to dimension now. Let me first of all create the window panels over here. So then we'll be taking some examples from the site again. So here we have this. I want to dimension this particular inclined wall and have a continuous dimension. For that, I take an align dimension here, and here I have this. Let's say the first align dimension, I go here, and then I go for a continued dimension. Continue. So dim continue is the tool that I would use. So here I go and I do a dim continue. Now if let's say you finish it off, and then you find that you do something, you do a different dimension in somewhere, and so this is the case. I did this dimension. Now I want to continue from here itself. I want to select my own baseline for the continue. So if I say dim continue, by default what will happen, it will select from the last dimension, but I want to select the dimension of my own from where I want to do the continue. So here I have an option of the select option, and then I can go and select this dimension, and from here I can go for the continue. So this is from edge to edge. Another thing is that we can have a center line, center of window. For example, in architectural drawings, it is a requirement that we give a center dimensions. So how do we do it? Let us do it again. Center dimension. Center dimension means the mid of the window panel to the mid of the window panel. So I have a dim alley tool. So I take the mid. So let me go to the snapping and take the midpoint here. So I do a dim alley here, and then I take an align dimension of this window, let's say here itself, and then so I want to do a mid one, let's say from the edge. I'm deleting this one from the edge of the wall, the end of the wall to the midpoint. So I'll go with dim alley align dimension because it is an inclined. So now I have to go with I think the oblique angle is creating a problem. So dim alley, let's say I go with the mid. So okay, see, check it again. So you have the center line located here. So now you want to continue the dimension from this point, and let's say you want to say okay mid, and then this is the mid, this is the mid. So you are giving all the dimensions of the so why it was happening is it was clicking the midpoint. So I can go for a because the mid was snapping. So I can continue the dimension, then continue, select this line and continue to this point. So there is one dimension that you give the midpoint of the windows, showing the mid location of the windows, and then you can give the full dimension like dim aligned. So this is the continued dimension. So we can take an example from this, the site also, but let's do another example of let's take a section of the wall section. Let's say if I have a load bearing wall or a wall section over here, I'm creating an elevation. Now I'll be talking about baseline dimensions. So baseline dimensions are mainly used, I mean, in my practice, I use it for elevations and sections to show that different height levels of different objects or entities in a site in the height from a baseline, that is a 0, 0. So for example, if I have a 9-inch wall, this is an elevation of a wall. So this is the let's say the datum level, let's say the top of slab or whatever it is. So this line is the datum level, and from here we have the sill level at 3 feet. So there's a section of the, let's say, so there's a sill level of 3 feet, and then you have the lintel level at 7 feet. So this is the section of so I'm taking the elevation. Now friends, this is the elevation that I'm will be dimensioning later on. So I take the elevation, I trim this part over here, and then I have the slab level at, let's say, 10 feet here. So let's say, so now you have a 6-inch slab over here. Trim this one, trim this one, I can trim this one. So this is a typical example where you can show different levels, and then you have a chaja or a cantilever. Let's say you have a 18 inches, right? And then you can have a 4 inches, and then you can go straight away. So you can push it to a part. Right. So now let's say if you want to dimension this particular section. So here we have the first dimension would be the linear dimension that I want to put over here. So now I would be also discussing about continued and aligned and the baseline dimension for arcs also, because they are also very important while we are doing arcs. So we will be doing that also when we are doing angles of the arc. It's very interesting to see. So let's do it for the straight lines and the line works. So here we have the 3 feet, 1914, and then I want to dimension this from the base. So this is the base over here. So I take a dim base as the option. So you can take this from the drop down here also. You have the baseline dimension. So now you can see by default the previous dimension base is taken. Then you can have this let's say the chajja level or the lintel level at 7 feet, and then you can have the top of slab at 10 feet 6 inches. So this is the, and the spacings can be later on adjusted by the dim space command. So if you're using continued dimension over here, so you can have a continued dimensioning, and so for that you have to have a align dimension. So that I just wanted to show you the difference between continued dimensioning and align dimension. So let me have the linear dimension placed over here so that you can understand the relevance in the site. So the dimensions are very, very important when you are basically creating them, when you're putting them. Every dimension has a particular meaning in the site. Any error in the dimension will basically create kind of coordination error or a wrong design intent on the site. Again, I am mentioning this, so it's very important. Now if you want to go with the continued dimension, which we don't do it, so it's showing that okay, fine, you have this and this continued dimension. That means you have this sill level, and from the sill level you have this 4 feet window, and then you have the chajja, and then you have the 3 feet. So it is fine if you want to do, but baseline dimensions are more appropriate because you are measuring the heights of the, I would suggest that different entities like the sill level and the lintel level from the 0, 0. Now let's say if we want to go for a plan, for example. So you can do the baseline from the plan also. Let's say we have a 9-inch wall, and let's say you have got give an example of a column, let's say instead. So you have a column, let's say of 12-inch by 12-inch, and you place it somewhere at a particular distance. Let's say randomly I'm putting it, and now you want to measure the distance of the column from this particular column. So this is the base. In this case, you can use both the continuous dimension as well as the linear dimension. Now let's say I have continuous dimension and the baseline dimension. Now for this I need to have one let's say linear dimension. Now if I want to go with the continuous dimension, so now it is fine. From center to center you have this columns, and you can have the continuous dimension. If it is rotated, let's say the columns are rotated in 45 degree, let's say, or in 15 degree from this particular point. So let's say 15 degree, and you want to have the, again, the continued dimension. So you can have a line dimension here, and put the center point. Very important, center of the object, right? Now here the center of the object plays a major role. I have taught you regarding the center of the object, snapping. So that's a geometric center, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm doing a dim continue, and here, so there's a coordination between the snaps. Which snaps you are using? Object snappings. So you can see that it is done. So this is a missed dimension, so I can just pull them off and get it into the center of the object. So this is a continued dimension. But now if, let's say, if I want to have a baseline dimension, so let's say I have this first align dimension pulled here, and then I will go with dim base as I mentioned, and then I can pull the dimension of the center, and I have the baseline dimension done. So this is the case where we have the linear, the length measurements. Now what about the angle? Let's say you have a line, let's say if you have a, and you array this, let's say, and you have, let's say, more lines like this in an angular position. I'll give you a better example of it. Let's say you have this skewed line, and you want to do a dimension of these angles. So let's say you have dim angular, and take the angle from here. So you want to do a continued dimension, what angle this line makes with this line makes with this line makes with this, so that you can create something in the construction process. And what it would be, we will see a particular case. So you have this continued dimension over here. You can take dim continue and select the arc. So now what happens, once you go with the dim continue, again, now you can see that it is taking the line from this point continuous. So what you can do, you can go for a select option and select this end so that you can continue from here. Just pull the points or the midpoint, you can have a continued dimension. Now if you want to have a baseline dimension of this angles, so you can go with dim base and select this line, and you can always have a baseline dimension. Yes. So friends, this is something that is very, very important in CAD while you are dimensioning. So we will do some more civil related examples like foundation footings coming. So before that, I want to discuss more commands which are left, like the alignment of the dimension. So we did the break option. Now there is something called jog dimension. The previous jog dimension that we did was with the arc. Now let's say I want to basically mark the height, not the actual height. So it says it's not the actual height of the building. Let's say I want to mark at the jog dimension. I want to show that it is not the actual height. So what I do is I create a linear dimension over here, but uh, so it says that this is 10 feet 6 inches, but actually it is, let's say, not 10 feet 6 inches. It is 12 feet 6 inches or 15 feet that I want to show as a dimension. So in this case, I can use the jog dimension, click on it, click the, let's say, so here you can see the jogged lines are put somewhere. So you can always have the, because the object snap has to be removed. Now let's say I'm removing the object snap right now. So I have the jog dimension, select the point where you want to have the jog. So here it means that actually, if I see this dimension is not 10 feet 6 inches, let's say if I change this dimension by text command and I put it 15 feet actually 6 inches, right? So what is happening? So I'm saying that this height is 15 feet 6 inches, but if you measure it, it will not be 15 feet 6 inches. You put the jog dimension. So this is one option that is very, very interesting, and you can use it in your dimension, and the draftsman or the people who are drafting it will communicate on site that, oh, if you measure it, it will not be 10 feet or 15 feet 6 inches, but actually you need to have 15 feet 6 inches. Now let's come to more commands over here. Let's say I will go with the associate, reassociate. Okay, we can do it in the later sessions or next sessions also. So I did the continued dimension, I did the baseline dimension. Now coming to it, there is something called quick dimension. Okay, I can look into it, and that's it. And there is something called space. So I did the adjust space. Now let's say if you have got this baseline dimension which is quickly packed, a lot of baseline dimension. Let me do more of them. So I did do the base, dim base, and select this dimension from where I want to do the baseline, and they are very compactly spaced. So I click it over here, I click it over here. I want to make a space, equal spaces between this line. So go along with this option called the adjust space, where I select the base dimension, let's say, and select dimension to space. Now, so here what I will do is I select the base dimension and select dimension to space. So these are the dimension which I want to have the spacing equal, and give a value. Let's say I have, let's say, 1 inches value. So now you can see if I give 1 inches value, that means it is very compact. But if I want to have a 12 inches or 15 inches, then it will have an equal spacing, where 1 inch is very, very compact. So if I want to put it in a 12 inches space in the model space, so I will go along with this option called just space, which is again the dim space command is dim space. So I select the base dimension and then press enter. So now nothing to do with, because I have abrupted the command. So select that base dimension and select all the dimensions that you want to have the equal spacing. So press enter. Now you give the value. Now the value is 12 inches. Now you find that the dimensions are spaced equally, distance of 12 inches from each other. Great. Okay. Before we go forward, I would like you to talk about the associativity of dimensions. Now friends, if I have a dimension that I do to this line, okay, now this dimension is not updated to the current style. So another thing that I can teach you right now is how to update it to a current style. Okay, now see, this particular dimension is done in a particular style. We haven't yet studied about dimension style, which I am planning to take in the next session. But before that, I would like you to make you understand about the basic rules of dimension. How do we do dimension in various cases? So I have got some cases over here, like I have got a structural base, I have got an exterior elevation, I have got an elevation for a rapid metro, and we can take out we can read the drawings and see how the dimensions can be done and measured between different entities over here. So let's see, let's say here I have a particular dimension. Let's see what the dimension style is all about. So I select this and see which dimension style. So it's a structural plan dim. This is the style that is followed. Friends, we have studied about the styles in text. So dimensions are also having different styles. So let's say if I take a dimension style, any style as current style, a lot of dimension styles. So this has to be very important to understand style. That's the reason I have kept it for a special session. Now let's say this particular dimension is in a previous dimension, some other dimension style. So you want to update this dimension. So here we have this update dimension, and select this dimension, press enter. Now this particular dimension is not getting updated to a style, or what we can do is so this is a layer actually. So the dimension styles is here. So let's take the dimension style from here. So this is a dimension style that you can take. Let's say the dimension style that I need to, it's a layer. Okay, fine, it's updated to the new layer, but I have to update it to the dimension style also. So the dimension style, it is, for example, I have this dimension style. So if you select this dimension, it talks about rotated dimension. So here if you go down and see which dimension style it is, so you go down and see the dimension styles. So it talks about 18 Roman 115 ESCF. So if this is the dimension style I want to have, and I want to update my dimension, let's say, so we have this dim update, this particular dimension to the style. So probably there is a override that is there, which is not making it associative or something. Okay, so we will study this later on, but let's talk about the associative dimensions right now. Let me go to the next section. Like for example, I can have it here itself. So I have this line done. Okay, and then I go to the linear dimension and I select a dimension. So again, this is suppressed one. Okay, let's not take this one. There are a lot of dimensions. So this is the dimension style that I was talking about, and the below is the layer of the dimension. So let me take another plan. Let's say a new plan, right? Or I can go for the week 4 challenges that I have given you. So okay, so here you can see that I have taken as a standard as a dimension. So I do a dimension and I do a linear dimension here. So it says 25 feet. Now if you look into it, this is a single object. So the extension line, the dimension line, the text and the arrows all are basically a single object. Now if I have the option called dim associate, and if I put it, there are 3 values, 0, 1 and 2. Let's say I give a value of 0. Now what will happen? It will create a non-associative dimension. How it is a non-associative? Let's take it example. So I have first extension line. So I have taken dim associate as 0. Now if I put it over here, now it will ask you enter dimension text. So I give it as okay, enter. So now you can see that all objects are having different kind of objects are there. They are not single objects. So you saw that there are single objects like the text, the dimension line and the dimension arrow. Now if I give a value of 1 in this, let's say if I have the dim associate option as 1, so what will happen is if I have the dim linear option and now you see the dimension are non-associated, but they are in a single group, but they're not associated. Why? Because let's say what associativity means to the CAD is if the object changes, the dimension will also change. For example, if I take this example over here, let's say I have to draw a line and I take a dimension linear and draw a line over here, and remember I have the value of dim associated as 1. I set the value before I did the dimension. So now if I extend this line, the dimension is not extending. It means that the dimension is not associated. So what I do is, if I have this dim associated value to 2 and I do the dimension right now, so what will happen? The objects will be grouped as well as the dimension changes along with the objects. So I have got three options. One is 0, 1 and 2. So 0 and 1 both are non-associative. The difference is, while you are having a value of 1, the dimension does not change if the object changes, but they are grouped together, right? They are grouped together and they are as one unit. But if you do 0, the dimension line, the extension line explodes to different entities. Great. This is what the dimension associate options is all about. Okay. Now let's come to the, so then if you want to reassociate them, let's say if you have a line which you have created with the dim associate option as 1, and now let's create the dimension with dim associated as 1. So this line is, this is not associated. So now what happens if I click into it? Now look good for reassociation. Let's see what happens. So if you click on the reassociate button over here, so select the object, right? So in case the dimension it is, enter, and till which you want to, the first extension line or the origin, and second. So you can see it is reassociated. So again, reassociation means that you can reassociate it with the line. Now let's give you the proper explanation. So you have this reassociate option, select object, now press enter, and then you have the first extension line over here and you reassociate till here. Now does it mean that now it is totally reassociated? So give an example of, let's say if I have the dissociation as dimension associate, dim asso as 0, and I create a dimension with this particular value. So what will happen is, in this case, the dimensions that you create are in exploded form, correct? So you give the value, let's say whatever value you want, press enter if you need the same value. So now you can see these are exploded form. Now can I associate it? Let's see. So let's say I go with reassociate, select all the dimensions, select objects. Now it says that you have 0 found or 0 total. That means that it is not going to select the object or dimension which is exploded. It means that if you have a dimension which is created with a value, dim associate value 1, that can be associated, right? So you have this dimension, and now you change the length, let's say it get extended, and you want to make it an associative dimension. So here you go with the reassociate option and select the object, that means the dimension which is not associated, right? Press the first extension line here, second here. So now I think it got the snapping. Due to the snapping, the things did not work. So you have this, select this, press enter. First extension line is this, or you can select the object in this case. It's a very useful option that you can do. I think I've been able to make you understand about the associate and disassociate option. Great. Now let's do a quick look into some of the drawings. Now you can see the continued dimensions have been used over here. There are dimensions which are done at a particular location of the columns. Now you can see here. So there are the dimensions show the location of the columns over here. You have got these W410, these are column locations, and you can see that there are some dimensions which are given with the text which says 610 WSJ at the rate of 4 equals P6. So the cross bracings are there. So you can see the proper utilization of dimensions have been made in this particular drawing, which the text option is also written along with the dimension lines.